Well, welcome everybody to the August online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center up here in beautiful Powell River, BC. And this month we're going to choose as our theme finding meaning and purpose in the workplace. And the reason we're doing that is because the Sunshine Coast Health Center is sponsoring this big conference in Vancouver on finding meaning and purpose in the workplace. Only that's not scholarly enough, so they actually named it Creating a Psychologically Healthy Workplace, Meaning, Spirituality, and Engagement in the 21st Century. You got that little brochure here. You gotta see some of the speakers here. These are pretty impressive. We got Geoff Thompson, who's a quite famous clinical fellow. Got one of the several of the experts, the leading experts on Viktor Frankl's work, and this very distinguished fellow by the name of Michael Novak, who's got like 26 honorary doctorates and written lots of books and taught at Harvard and a whole bunch of other places. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. Oh, we got the head of the Viktor Frankl Institute in Vienna, Alexander Bethania. He's a really interesting character, very scholarly, smart, very smart guy. Anyway, that's the creating a psychologically healthy workplace, and that's going to be in August 5th to 8th. Anyway, in this time of uncertainty, this is actually a really important thing, because as you know, like one of the keys to recovery, right, is to make your life meaningful, like fill yourself up, and work being this huge part of anybody's life, right? To be able to find work that is satisfying, that gives you a sense of achievement. And I was listening to the news the other day, and there's a big documentary on CBC, and they were talking about the consumer confidence level across Canada, which it's a sort of a little survey they do to see how willing people would be to go out and buy like a big ticket item, like a car, or washer and dryer, stuff like that. Are they willing to part with their money, or are they nervous? And it turns out BC is one of the most nervous of all provinces in Canada. People are really, geez, man, we're going to hold on to our money. The layoffs coming. Am I still going to have a job in a year? So there's a lot of feeling among people today that, geez, I just have to exist in work. But really, I mean, there are ways of making work meaningful, like well beyond just having to exist at a job because you're nervous, and well beyond going to a job just for a paycheck. Okay, so that's what our theme is going to be this month. And to start off, like as you all know, I'm a big fan of Bill Wilson and the 12-step program. So Bill Wilson is really an interesting example of someone who figured out how to transform his working life. As you all know, he was this business fellow from New York City while he was in active addiction. And then when he cleaned up, he sort of shifted careers, right? And became basically the guru, the coach, the diplomat, everything of the 12-step program. So here's a fellow. Active addiction's got this typical middle-class life, but in recovery, he's got to do something. He's got to be true to himself, right? And so he takes on this role as the promoter of AA, and to encourage people to join, to go out and help his fellow suffering alcoholic. And he would spend a great deal of time doing this, and it's, if you think about it, here's someone who finally found a meaningful existence, a meaningful occupation, who is doing something to contribute to ease the suffering of others. And I suspect that's a big difference from his previous occupation while he was in active addiction, where my guess is he's probably out to make a lot of money and do business deals and all that, and probably not spending a whole lot of time thinking, well, I'm making all this money, this is good for the community, good for the government, they can use the tax money to build new schools and new hospitals. I'm pretty sure that kind of stuff didn't really enter into his mind. But in this very altruistic effort to promote AA and to help others, this is he found a meaningful existence, a sense of achievement, and a sense of being filled up by work. And my guess is he loved to get up every morning just to hang out with other suffering alcoholics. Anyway, this idea then of finding meaningful work is really apparent. When I was talking to the fellows today in a big group, we were talking about work just because we're sponsoring this conference. And one of the fellows said that he loved his job. So I asked him, well, what is it about this job you love? Oh, I just loved going to work every day. So then I asked him, well, did you ever use on the job? And he said, oh yeah, all the time. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So then I started asking about, like, what was the appeal of the drugs when you were at work? And he mentioned that, well, you know, these are pretty long days, so really anything to help me get through the days was good. So I'm thinking, well, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? If he loves his work, except that the days are really long and he's getting kind of bored and he needs something to like speed up the time, right? And he, so eventually we went through this whole process and then came to the conclusion that maybe it was the drugs that were the good part of work, right? And he liked the paycheck, of course. But a lot of fellows, it's really quite interesting when we find out the work they do, right? And a lot of fellows who say they love their job will say things to us like, oh, well, it changes all the time, right? I'm at this project, and the next day I'm at here, and I'm meeting different people, and so I don't get into a rut. That's interesting. So very often I say, well, do you actually like the work you do? Oh yeah, because it's, you know, I get to meet some people here and some people there, yeah, and I say, no, not that stuff, like the actual work. And regardless of whether you're a salesperson, do you actually like selling stuff? Or do you actually like managing projects? And when we start dealing at that level about the work itself, they usually say, yeah, well, not very much, which is in fact why they use drugs, right? So it's interesting how these people who say they love their job and yet feel this necessity to use substances while they're at work. So you begin to wonder, well, how much do they actually love the job? And other fellows will talk about this job because it's exciting, right? It's the adrenaline rush. Talking to some young fellows who like to do stuff like go logging or, you know, work at these exciting jobs in the oil patch or do something because, you know, they're adrenaline rushes. It's not that the actual work is fun, but they get to fly around in helicopters or they get to, you know, cut down huge trees or something like that, right? It's more of an intensity, an adrenaline rush to it than actual deep, meaningful work. Or one fellow I was talking to recently, he owns his own company and he loves that, right? He's his own boss and everything. But I asked him, do you actually like the work? He said, well, not really. But I do like the idea I don't have a boss and I do like the paycheck. And again, sort of everything except actually loving the work. And yet a lot of the research we've done on finding meaningful work is directly related to people feeling a passion for what they actually do. And recognizing that they can do things like they're contributing to their community. Or like Bill Wilson, right? He's going out and helping to ease the suffering of his fellow suffering addict, right? So there's this personal sense of fulfillment from the work itself. And this seems to be a key about making the workplace more significant part of life, rather than just a source of intensity, a source of a paycheck, or any of those other things that really don't seem to have much guts to them, right? That really doesn't fill you up. At any rate, we'll find out more from the conference because it's going to be held coming up. Actually, when you're viewing this, probably within a week, August 5th to the 8th. But we're going to get some of the world's leading experts to tell us what it is that makes work meaningful. Anyway, that's our program for this week, and we'll see you next week. We'll continue on with our topic of finding meaning and purpose in the workplace.